Good morning and welcome to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Remember, you can join me right here on this station every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. where I bring you, the landowner, the valuable information that you need regarding natural gas development here in Pennsylvania. And in case you're new or in case you have forgotten, at the Clark Law Firm, I focus on landowner representation, oil and gas right owner representation. I have not, will not, do not, and whatever not there is, will not represent oil and gas pipeline companies. I represent landowners and oil and gas right owners relative to any and all matters relating to oil and gas development, including but not limited to, little lawyer speak there, including but not limited to gas lease negotiations, gas lease reviews, consultations, royalty issues, royalty statement reviews and consultations, pipeline agreements, surface use agreements, unitization issues, meter sites, compressor sites, more and more estate planning, essentially any and all matters related to natural gas development here in Pennsylvania. So if you're looking for information or you're looking for representation, you can contact us directly at 570-307-0702. That's 570-307-0702. And again, if you're new or if you haven't gone there, and I talk to people who listen to the show regularly all the time, but for some reason haven't gone to the websites. Now, maybe they're like my parents who have some difficulty navigating through the computer. However, if you have the ability, go check out the websites, pagasleaseattorney.com, pipelineattorney.com. Whether you're looking for representation or not, if you're looking for information, you're looking to become more educated on natural gas issues from the landowner perspective, go check out pagasleaseattorney.com, check out pipelineattorney.com. We have the radio shows up and available, archived. Today's show will be up Monday morning, should be up Monday morning, but today's show will be up Monday morning, maybe Tuesday at the latest, but I think we'll have it up Monday morning. And we index the shows. So you can go and say, okay, well, hey, I'm interested in gas leasing, pipelines, meter sites, whatever that case may be. Go check out. You can search on the websites. You can go to shows, listen to the shows at your convenience. You can't tune in every week. Check out the show during the week at your leisure. Again, pagasleaseattorney.com, pipelineattorney.com. Do yourself a favor, whether you're looking for any representation or information, check out the websites. They are a great resource for you, the landowner. And when you're on the website, you can sign up for our newsletter if you'd like. It's free. We don't send you any solicitations. We shoot you out a newsletter. I try to do about once a month or so. You can check it out. It's free. And if you don't like it, you can unsubscribe. We will not solicit you, and we're not going to fill up your email box with a bunch of junk mail. We don't do it. We want to get you. I want to get you, the Pennsylvania landowner and oil and gas right owner, good quality educational information. Whether you ever call me or not, we want to lift up everybody out there to be more educated, to sign better agreements, to negotiate, to maximize anything that's presented to them, to not get tricked or fooled into signing something that you do not understand. We want to raise awareness and we want to raise education. Take advantage of good quality educational materials. My websites I'm pretty proud of. I did a lot of writing there, so I hope I'm proud of it. But also, check out other good quality resources. Watch out for message boards. Watch out for them. There's great information at times, but other times there's very misleading and questionable information out there. I don't really look at them very much, but when I do, there's so many times where I shake my head and say, oh gosh, I hope no one's relying on this, because who knows, it could be written by a company landman. So just be careful, or a company representative. Be careful and make sure you're getting good quality information. Again, you're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I'm here with you on these stations every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m. All right, so one of the things about me as a person is that I do a lot of thinking, and I do a lot of thinking where I kind of try to study. I guess it's my own little part of trying to be a psychologist to some degree, but I try to study, and I do study, why people make decisions that they make. I try to study, or I do study more than anything, why I make the decisions that I make in my life, in my work. But I try to study that as well. I try to learn from decisions that I have made in the past, certainly positive decisions that have worked out well, and certainly negative decisions that maybe haven't worked out as well as what I'd like them to do. So I really look at that. I look at myself. I look at decisions that other people make. And another thing that I really study and think about is why companies, gas and pipeline companies, relative to work that I do, why do they do certain things, or why do they make the offers that they make at certain times? What is the motivation? Because it's always real simple. If you put a document in front of you, you look at it and you can read the document and say, okay, hey, here's a document. But there's another part to this, obviously. Why? Let's ask why. Why is this document being presented to me? Why is it being presented to me now? Is there any hidden reasons that maybe I'm not thinking about? And that's really it. And I guess, really, it's one of the things that the law school teaches you, is that really you don't know anything, or you know very little. So anytime that you're presented with an issue, or you're presented with anything, you're immediately taught to look around in your mind, not physically look around, but look around to say, okay, what am I missing here? Let's look at this at every possible angle. So if you have a document in front of you and you're sitting in a chair and you're looking at it, okay, you're looking right at it and you're thinking about the document. What I try to do is say, okay, here's this document in front of me. Let me look at it not only from the chair that I'm sitting at with the document in front of me, but let me look at it as if I were standing up on the other side of the document, so to speak, or from every possible angle. Why is this document here? Not just what the words are, but why is it here, and what does this document mean? And why is it presented, and what are these numbers, and what abilities do I have to say yes, to say no? Why would I want to enter into this at this time? Do I want to wait? Do I want to move forward? How strongly or how aggressively do I want to negotiate this document? All of these different things come into play in order to make the best possible decision. So, as my wife and friends would know, I can talk quite a bit about my theories of life and thought process, and why I make decisions that I make, and why I think that people make decisions that they make. But I'm going to tell you this. Let me give you this example, okay? So, and here's what I mean, and I think this is a better illustration. So I was thinking about this. I get a client who sends me some information, and here's I'll give a general type of information. We'll do some hypotheticals, and we'll also throw in some actual 100% accurate facts, which are true, as opposed to a hypothetical where we're generating facts to illustrate, or generating premises to illustrate points. Okay, so here's what I mean. I have a client who comes in and they have a lease offer from Shell or SWEPI in Tioga County. Just so happens to be. I talk about Tioga County a lot because that's where really right now the most action is that I see as far as landowners being presented with gas lease extensions and modification, pipeline agreements, development contracts. It's just a big area now. So you say, okay, well, all right, well, why is that such a big area now? Well, that's a great example. Well, we got to think about that. What's going on? Why is that a big area of activity when there's not a lot going on, but we're seeing these contracts being presented and these agreements and these offers being presented to landowners? Well, we're fortunate now, too, because I say this a lot. we have the ability to look back and see what's occurred in the past, to learn from, I talked earlier, learn from our decisions, learn from the decisions of other people, learn from the choices that they've made, ones that have worked out well, the positive decisions, and also the negative decisions. And of course, too, the average decisions. We want to look at everything to say, how do we do the best we can going forward? But get a client back up here. Client comes to me, says, hey, what I have is here. Now, I'm going to give a hypothetical because I like easy numbers. We'll say this person had 100 acres. Nice, easy number. So what happened was that they had signed a lease back in around, I think, 2006, 7, in that type of range, a range of time period. And what's occurred is that they had this depth severance PUE provision, and I'm going to explain that said that at the end of the lease, the primary term of the lease, so what it was say a 5-year lease with a 5-year company option. So if they signed it in 2006, and the company then, in 5 years, it was 2011, the company extended it, so it goes through 2016. So here we are now, 2016, and we've hit that 10-year date. Well, this lease had a provision, and listen, Tioga County landowners, many of your leases have this provision. That's why you're being approached. You have to understand why. You have to understand why. You have to understand why, and then understand what that means to you. So, but anyway, backing up again, 100-acre landowner presented with a lease offer now. They signed in 2006, we'll say, hypothetically. Now the lease is about to expire in 10 years later, 2016. Well, the lease had a language in it that said that at the end of the primary term of the lease, in this case 2016, the company, if they've only drilled to a certain depth, the lease says that at that point, the company can only has rights to drill to that depth moving forward. Let me explain. So if they've only drilled to the Marcellus Shale Formation by the end of this primary term, which is in 2016, then they do not have the right to drill deeper unless you give them that right. Well, perfect storm for Tioga County. Companies want to go deeper. They want to go to the Utica Formation. But for hundreds of landowners, the company has now already or is on the verge of losing the right to access the Utica Shale Formation. So under these hundreds and hundreds of leases in Tioga County, what the company has now is, and Shell and Sweppy are the best examples, but what the company now has is only the rights to develop Marcellus Shale or above towards the surface of the earth. They do not have the right to develop the Utica Shale. Don't have the right. So you are unleased, landowner. Unleased. They can't go to Utica unless you give them separate permission. And that gives you, in my opinion, a lot of leverage. A lot of leverage. I'm going to talk more about this. I love this subject. And I'm going to talk about, okay, why? Why is this happening now? Stay with me, because I love this whole thing. This is my thing. I like this stuff. So I'm going to explain it all. Believe me, stay tuned. I think it's really neat stuff. Hopefully you will as well. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. You can always contact us, 570-307-0702. I will be right back, and we're going to really tie all this stuff up after this. Once again, extremely important message. Make sure you pay attention. I'll be right back. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Join me every Sunday, 8 to 9 a.m., where I bring you on this station every Sunday, 8 to 9 a.m., the information you need regarding natural gas development here in Pennsylvania. So, okay, I'm going to jump back into this here. And like I said, stick with me on this because we're going to go through. There's a lot of information here, and I'm going to explain what I'm talking about. And what I said, and I started earlier, is studying why. Why are these things happening? Landowner says, well, geez, why shouldn't I do this now? Why shouldn't I do this? And then you as a listener saying, what in the world is this guy talking about? All right, well, I'm going to explain. Here we go. Here's an example. So circling back real quick, landowner client comes to the office, hypothetically has 100 acres, has an offer. This is a true offer from SWEPI or Shell, which says that they're offering to lease the deeper rights because, again, this person had a provision in their original lease that said at the end of the primary term of my lease, that's that either 5-year term or 5-year plus the option, that's the primary term. So at the end of that primary term, this lease said that however deep the company has drilled at the end of the primary term, that's where their rights end. Meaning they have the rights. You look at the end of that primary term, and if they've only drilled to the Marcellus formation, they now have a lease from the surface of the earth to the Marcellus formation. They can't go deeper under these leases. And guys, hundreds and hundreds of people have these leases from what I can estimate and what I see. I know I deal with it all the time. So it's worked out very well, very well. I talk about opportunities. What's worked out well for the landowner is because of the low gas prices, companies are not drilling. If the prices were higher and the budgets were better, you'd start to see companies drilling down to the Utica in areas like Tioga County because that's where they want to access. That's where they really want to reach. Yeah, they want to reach Marcellus too, but you see these companies going out seeking to acquire those deeper rights that they've either lost already or on the verge of losing, and they have no ability to drill deeper because they don't have the budgets and they're not out there drilling deeper. So what do? They go out to the landowner and say, hey, your lease has expired relative to lower formations than the Marcellus Shale formation. We as a company hold a lease, but our lease says now, because we've reached the end of that, we'll say 5-year primary term, the initial term, we've only drilled to the Marcellus, so we can't go deeper, but we want you to sign a new lease for your deeper rights, mostly Utica, but for all rights deeper than Marcellus. New lease. So you are literally, as a landowner in this scenario, you have a lease to the Marcellus formation, the one you've already signed, but that's it. All deeper formations are totally not leased. You own those rights. So the company wants to get those rights. And in some cases, it's really neat. You have a well pad on your property. So the client or the company really wants your deep rights because they're anticipating drilling deeper into the Utica, probably from the well pad that they've already constructed. But because of your lease, they can't drill to the Utica. They can only go to Marcellus. So again, they come out to you, the landowner, and they offer, now these are true numbers in this case, they offer $500 per acre to the landowner to lease all rights below the Marcellus formation. $500 per acre to lease your deeper rights. So, thankfully, landowner gives us a call. We do a review and consultation. Takes in only an hour or two, and the landowner becomes much more informed and educated to decide, do I want to negotiate and continue to negotiate moving forward? Do I want to wait? Do I want to and they should always at least negotiate, or do I want to negotiate and, hey, I think this is a good time for me to sign? Again, never specific advice on the show or on the websites. We got to sit down to give you specific advice and look at your specific situation, because what is right for you, as I say, very well may not, and may be the exact opposite thing that your neighbor should do. So you need specific advice for you. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm, where I bring you, the landowner, the information that you need regarding natural gas development here in Pennsylvania. So, okay, we're talking about this offer where the landowner had a depth severance provision, so now the company has no rights to go deeper than the Marcellus Shale formation with their drilling operations. They come to the landowner, they say, here, we're going to give you $500. Here's a new lease. Well, landowner is smart. Landowner says, okay, let me look at this. Let me think about this. We do a review and consultation. We talk about it. But I say, okay, well, what's driving this? What's driving this? Let's look at this not just at the paperwork. Let's look at, bigger pictures here. What's going on? Well, first of all, we're going to really study the offer that's pending. And in this case, oh boy, you've heard me rail on this before. I'll try not to rail too much, but I'll rail a little. You have an offer here for the deeper rights, $500 per acre for the deeper rights, which include the Utica, which in most cases, that's where they're targeting from what we're observing. So it's $500 per acre. Oh, and here it comes, 10-year lease. 10-year lease. Oh, yeah, that isn't bad enough. How about we throw in the state minimum royalty of 12.5%? Cannot do worse than 12.5%, guys. Cannot do worse than 12.5% royalty. Oh, wait. Maybe you can do a little worse. You could do 12.5% royalty, which is the worst royalty you can have by law, plus, which is allowed by law, the company can be allowed to take deductions for gathering, transportation, pipeline costs, compression costs, which are commonly referred to as deductions. So, again, the offer is for the deep rights, $500 per acre, 10-year lease, 10-year lease, 12.5% lowest royalty allowed by law in Pennsylvania. Full deductions allowed under the offer. Oh, and without going down that path too far, a 5-year shut-in provision. 5 years. So the company could wait 10 years, start drilling, drill the well, shut it in for another 5 years. Then in 15 years, you may start receiving royalties under it, playing this thing out. Of course, it could work in other ways too, but play it out the bad way. 10 years, they drill a well, they shut it in for 5 years. Then you start getting royalties in 15 years, and you're going to get the state minimum royalty with full deductions. So if you have a 10-year lease window with this shut-in time, questions should arise. Why sign now? Oh, and we haven't even mentioned that the gas prices, the natural gas prices, are still hovering around decade lows. Unbelievably low prices. In fact, I have multiple clients right now who do not receive royalty payments, even though their wells are producing gas and the gas is being transported and being sold. So let me pay attention to this. This is really important. Multiple people in Pennsylvania now, multiple landowners, are in situations and have been now for a while where they have wells that they would get royalties from. And these wells are producing gas. And that gas is being piped from the well to the market and is being sold. Then the landowner normally would receive their share of the royalty for gas being sold. But this is occurring today, and it has been occurring over the last year anyway, where that landowner with a well, with gas producing, being transported and sold in the market, is not receiving a royalty check. Why? Because the company explains that the cost for gathering, transporting, compressing, getting this gas to market is less than the price that we are getting when we sell the gas. Okay, think about that. You may scratch your head, especially if you haven't seen it. If you see it, you know oh too well. But this is very true, that there are many people today and over the last year that have wells that are producing. Gas is being pumped from the well, being transported to market. Say that that gas is being sold at $1 per unit. But the cost that the company incurs by not producing, but by transporting the gas and compressing and any other post-production costs, that those costs are above the cost that the company is receiving when they sell the gas. Again, last time I'll explain it, and I'm going to come at it another way here, and just to clarify. So, 1 unit of gas is produced and it's being sold at $1, but that same unit of gas that's being produced, in order to get it to the market where it's being sold at $1, the gas company has to pay costs that are $1 or more. So to transport it to the marketplace costs more than what they're getting at the marketplace, meaning that landowner is not receiving a dime in royalties, even though thousands and thousands and tens of thousands and even hundreds of thousands of units of gas are being produced and sold, but they're not being sold at any profit because the cost of transportation, compression, and getting the gas to the market exceeds the price that the company is obtaining for that gas. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a bad situation. Bad situation where your gas is being sold every month, but you're not getting a dime in royalties because the sell price is lower than the deductions that the company charges for transportation, gathering, compression, and other similar post-production costs. Very bad situation. And if you're hearing this and you're understanding, you say, that can't occur. I assure you, it is occurring, and unfortunately, too many landowners that are listening know it's occurring because it's occurring to them. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I'm going to leave you on this point. We're going to talk, obviously, much more about this, but think about that. People are having their gas sold at a price which is lower than the deductions for post-production costs. So gas is being produced and sold, and the landowner gets no royalty. Is this the time that we want to move forward and sign bad agreements? Not specific advice, but dang, we better be thinking about that. I'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. In case you forgot, you can join me every Sunday, 8 to 9 a.m. on this station, where I bring you the valuable information that you need regarding natural gas development. So, okay, here we go. Now comes the numbers. Here comes the fun part. Real quick, explaining the hypothetical. We'll call it a hypothetical. Landowner does not have a lease for their deep rights, including the Utica Formation. Shell SWEPI comes out, offers $500 per acre to lease the deeper rights, including the Utica Shell. Again, 10-year lease. Only company in Pennsylvania. Only company in Pennsylvania, to my knowledge, and I have clients all over the state of Pennsylvania. Shell SWEPI, only company routinely offering, and frankly, even offering 10-year leases. Only company that I see routinely, and actually that I see even offering 10-year leases. So, okay, sorry, but it just drives me crazy. $500, 10 years, and again, 12.5% royalty, which is the absolute state minimum, and authorizes complete and total full deductions at a time when gas prices are unbelievably low, decade-type low, hovering, at a time where some companies are selling gas below the cost that they incur to even get the gas to market. So they're selling gas literally at a loss. Selling gas at a loss. So point is, really bad market. A time when no one's drilling. Well, also furthering supporting that, 10-year lease gives the company a whole lot of time and a whole lot of flexibility. So circling to the beginning, I'm asking why? Why? Why the offer now? Why would you sign? Not specific advice for anyone, but let's run some numbers. Let's think about this. You hear me say, these companies aren't stupid. They're not stupid. Thanks to Jimmy Sanders, it's not their first rodeo. It's not these companies' first rodeo. So what does that mean? Well, let me give you this example. Now we'll run some hypotheticals. So under that offer, 10-year lease, $500, 12.5% royalty, full deductions for deep rights. You have that offer. First off, I'm going to commercial alert. Call me. Let's do a review and consultation, 1 to 2 hours, 570-307-0702. I'm sorry to go commercial, but I'm telling you, you got to get information. If you're thinking about signing, call me, 570-307-0702. And hey, look, you may sign afterwards, but I'll guarantee you this, and you may not. I mean, that's your call or your decision. But the point is, you need to make sure you got the best possible information. And I got to be honest, I'm pretty confident that I can give it to you. But, hey, look, give me a call if you're thinking about doing this. And again, I'm sorry to be commercial, but okay, circling around yet again. Sorry about that. Why is the company doing this? Let me give you a little theory. Just imagine this, okay? This is, again, my theory. Talk about thinking about things. So, okay, if this landowner has 100 acres and they sign the current offer at $500 per acre, the company would pay them $50,000. That would be the term. In the future, it would be 12.5% royalty with the ability to take, which they will do, full deductions from the royalty check. Well, let's imagine this. So, okay, as a company, you send a landman out in the community to try to get people to sign. Let's pretend, just for now, let's just use a number, it's nice and round, that the landman out there, the company's going to pay that person $50,000 as a salary for the year. Again, I'm making this number up, for illustration purposes. So if that landman makes $50,000 a year, well, they go out there and they're working these 100 landowners or 50 or however, hundreds of landowners who have this situation. So they go out and they say, hey, 100-acre landowner, we're offering you this 10-year lease, 12.5% royalty, full deductions. Landowner says, well, geez, he should or she should say, well, that's a long time, and that's the lowest minimum royalty allowed by the state. But unfortunately, not enough landowners are understanding these issues and really thinking about this broader picture. They're thinking maybe about the $500 up front. They're thinking about, I better hurry up and sign to see some sort of activity. However, it's a 10-year lease. 10-year lease. Companies aren't doing 10-year leases because they plan on developing your property in 1 year. That's not why they do it. They want the flexibility to wait 10 years. It's that simple. They want the flexibility to be able to wait 10 years. So, okay. Well, unfortunately, landowners aren't at least getting good information before they sign. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not telling anyone not to sign. I'm telling everyone, get good information. Understand your options, your rights, and do you want to do this now? Understand and study a bigger, broader picture than the document sitting in front of you. Again, not specific advice other than you need to get educated and understand. So let's walk through this example. So if the landman gets a person to sign today at $500 per acre for a 10-year lease and 12.5% royalty with full deductions, the 100-acre landowner signs and the company pays them $50,000. Well, what happens in another year if, hypothetically, that $500 per acre offer changes because smart landowners have stopped signing bad agreements? And so they say, hey, you know what? Nobody's signing these $500 extensions or new leases anymore. We got the people who just sign everything. They've already signed. Now we got the people who've become more informed and more involved and understand, and they've elected not to sign. Again, not specific advice, but throwing out this scenario. But as we've seen through the history of leasing, is that when people stop signing at a certain financial level, if it's an area that the company is interested in, they raise and offer better terms. They raise the bonus. They raise the royalty. They eliminate their ability to take deductions. They make better offers. That's what they do. I'm attorney Doug Clark, and this is All Things Marcellus. You can join me right here every Sunday, 8 to 9 a.m. on this station. So, okay, we have the people who've signed. We take our 100-acre, let's make it simple. Say this 100-acre landowner signed, again, 10 years. Sorry to be repetitive, but I want to make sure everyone gets this because I think it's very interesting. They sign 10 years, $500 per acre, 12.5% royalty, full deduction. They get, for $500 and they have 100 acres, they get a check for $50,000. All of those people who are going to sign that agreement now, we fast forward a year or two, they've all signed that agreement. Now people are out there that the company wants to sign, but they've elected not to sign. They don't like the terms or conditions of that offer. So what does the company do? Well, in my hypothetical, let's say that they raise the bonus price from $500 an acre. Let's say that they raise that bonus price to $1,000 an acre, which Shell is paying many people for new leases now as a standard offer. Well, that same 100-acre landowner, let's say that person did not sign. So now that 100, if they signed at $1,000 in the future, well, instead of getting a $50,000 check for their 100 acres, well, 100 acres at $1,000 equals $100,000. So the landowner just made an extra $50,000. The company just paid $50,000 more dollars for this 100-acre lease than they would have had the landowner signed a year or two earlier. So, again, my example, the landman, hypothetically, I'm pulling this number out of the air, we're going to say makes $50,000 a year. Well, if that landman can get one person to sign at $500, 12.5% full deductions, as opposed to that person holding off and signing later if a better deal comes up at $1,000, that landman and that lease just saved the company $50,000 in my example. Also, in my hypothetical example, that landman's salary, and that's hypothetical, is $50,000. So by signing one single person at $500 before the price goes up, in a hypothetical, maybe it doesn't go up, but if it does, if you sign one person at $500 at 100 acres before the price goes up, in my hypothetical, to $1,000 per acre, the landman just paid for themselves for a year of salary. That's 100 acres. That's only 100 acres. Also, if in the future the price goes up to $1,500 an acre, well, that 100-acre landowner, instead of being paid $50,000 if they signed at $500 per acre, if they waited and the price went up, they would get, if it was $1,500 an acre in the future, they would now get $150,000. So if a landman who made $50,000 a year signed somebody at $500, then a year or two later the price went up to $1,500, well, the company just saved $100,000 under one single lease, which would have paid for the salary, in my hypothetical, of two landmen for a year. So, at 10-year leases, you can send out, my theory, a landman and say, hey, let's try to get what we can dirt cheap. And if we have to raise the prices in the future, we'll get everybody we can at the lowest possible signing rate. And yeah, we'll make an investment to the landmen that we're paying. However, if the prices go up and we sign people in the future at higher prices, those landmen will way more than pay for themselves because we'll have locked acreage in at a much lower price. Now I'm gonna circle again, and I'm gonna explain this in more detail. We're gonna give you some neat numbers here, but just to summarize. So if you're out there and people say, well, why are they out there? Why are they signing people with these, in this really bad market? Well, think about it. They're signing people for 10-year leases, 10 years at a time when there's no budgets or very poor budgets, low budgets for acquisition, for drilling, all of these things. But it's not that big of an investment to put out some people on the ground and try to get people, in my opinion, don't rely on it, it's just my opinion, to sign bad leases, cheap leases. So in the future, if we raise the price and then, gas prices get better, our budgets get bigger, we have more money to acquire leases and people stop signing bad leases, we have to offer more money. And now if we're offering $1,000 or $1,500 per lease, boy, are we glad we scooped up everybody we could at $500 because we made a lot of money. We saved ourselves a lot of money. Just like they did in 2005, 6, 7, signed super low leases, $50, $100 an acre, and then it went up to $5,000 and $6,000 an acre. I'm not saying it's going to do that. What I'm saying is we need to look at this. We need to be careful, and we need to ask why. We need to study our risk tolerance. We need to look at a lot of different issues. This is not specific advice for anyone other than specific advice to think about things, get assistance, get help, get information from somebody that knows what they're doing, I'm sorry, I'm going to go commercial alert one more time here. I do these reviews and consultations where we look at your specific situation. We look at your risk tolerance. We look at what's going on around you. We look at every relevant factor that we can determine. We look at the activity. We look at the drilling. We look at what we can see around you. And we try to, we take all of that information and we talk about the pros and cons, risk tolerance, benefit, look at all those individual circumstances and say, what is the best decision for you? Do you want to wait? Do you want to move forward? And sometimes people want to move forward. Sometimes people wait. But one thing that always occurs, they leave that call or in-office visit, whatever you prefer, with a much more clear understanding of what's going on, what their options are, and have the tools to make the right decision for them, their family, their children, and future generations. You're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. I am here on this station every Sunday from 8 to 9 a.m., and I'm going to be right back after this break. Welcome back to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. We have a short segment, so let's get into it. Okay, here's the example. Why are people signing these now? What's going on? What's happening out there? Again, we got an example. Shell, in our example, Sweppy, go out, say, hey, we want to sign you for $500 for your deep rights. We want to give you 12.5% for a 10-year lease, and we want to have full deductions. So landowners are out there signing. Again, not specific advice, but in this very down market, low times, they're signing. So let's run through a couple examples. I talked about a 100-acre landowner before who, if they sign now, the company would have to pay them $50,000. If prices go up and say went to $1,000 next year or the year after and the person signs, well, now they would get $100,000. So if that, now listen, that's an if, but if the market improves and numbers change, which I think may occur, if that happens, then by signing that landowner at $500 instead of $1,000, the company just saved themselves $50,000. If they pay a landman, hypothetically, $50,000 as a salary, just signing one person pays for that landman for the year. Now, how about this? This has some fun. Let's say that landman is able to get 1,000 acres signed at the $500 bonus price. Well, if that occurs and then the price the following year or year after goes up to $1,000, well, if you sign people at 1,000 acres at $500, the company would pay $500,000. But if those same 1,000 acres of property out there didn't sign until the price went up, if it does, to $1,000, well, now the company would have to pay for that same acreage $1 million. So by signing people cheap, in that example, they saved $500,000. That'll pay for a few landmen out there. Now let's even go one step further, because a lot of people have signed in Tioga County, where I'm giving my example, at $1,500 per acre. Well, if the company secured 1,000 acres at $500 an acre, again, they would pay $500,000 for those 1,000 acres worth of leases. But if the price went to $1,500 and those same 1,000 acres worth of leases were signed at $1,500, instead of $500,000, the company would now pay $1.5 million. So by just getting 1,000 acres signed today in a bad market, in case the price goes up in the future, and if it does, and say it went to $1,500 an acre, the company just saved $1 million on 1,000 acres. Now look, let's have some fun. Say it's 10,000 acres, times them by 10. So if you're saving $1 million on 1,000, you're saving $10 million on 10,000 acres. $10 million if you can get people to sign $1,000 lower than what you raised the price to as a company. I hope that makes sense. Here comes the next level. To even further illustrate the point, and by the way, you're listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. To further illustrate this point, this 100-acre landowner who has an offer to sign for deep rights in Tioga County for Utica and deeper rights, if that person signs today, they sign a 10-year lease, $500 per acre, and let's not forget the lowest royalty percentage allowed in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania with full deductions. If that landowner with 100 acres elects not to take this offer, and if the price raises to either $1,000 or $1,500 in bonus, we talked about, immediately that landowner makes another $50,000 or $100,000 by waiting if the price went up. But it doesn't end there, guys. It does not end there. What if next year or the year after, again, if the offer, instead of 510 years and the lowest royalty allowed by law with full deductions, what if that offer goes to $1,000 per acre, 15% royalty, and no deductions? Well, if that all occurs and then the landowner signs at the 15%, and the company is not allowed to take deductions, right away on bonus alone, that landowner makes $50,000 more dollars. The company spends $50,000 more dollars. But from there, now the landowner, instead of getting the lowest royalty allowed by law of 12.5%, now bumps up their royalty to 15%. And who knows, maybe it goes more, but let's stay at 15%. And in this hypothetical, eliminates the company's ability to take post-production costs. We can't put a value on that, but my estimates, my own personal estimates, if there's gas there and this thing's going to produce and these properties are going to produce at 100 acres, and again, there's a massive variation between production and areas and things of that nature, but just ballparking for illustration. If that company, if you sign as a landowner at the 15% no deductions, immediately remember you made $50,000 on the bonus, but down the line you have a higher royalty percent, and just eliminating deductions on 100 acres in an area that has good gas and going to have good production, I would comfortably estimate that you're going to save or make yourself hundreds of thousands of more dollars over time in a good area, in a good area. So, why are we signing now? And again, not specific advice. You got to ask yourself that question, though. But why is a company out there now? Well, what risk they run? They're presenting you with a 10-year lease. lowest royalty allowed by law, and full deductions that they can deduct, full deductions allowed by law. Well, and you're going to pay some guys or girls to go out there, ladies, men, go out there and secure leases. Well, that's a low cost. And for everyone that you get to say, every lease you acquire, I just gave you one example. In 100 acres, immediately you save $50,000 as a company in one example. But over time, for people that sign now, if the prices go up as far as the lease offers, and if future offers go to 15%, 15% no deductions, that landowner is going to make themselves probably hundreds of thousands of dollars more money by not signing today if better offers come in the future. But remember, as long as there's an offer in the future, it cannot be worse royalty than 12.5% full deductions. Companies put carrots in front of you to try to get you to sign. I'm going to tell you, in my opinion, not specific advice, this isn't much of a carrot. Not much of a carrot at all. And it's a carrot that's still got dirt all over it. Don't eat it. Or at least let's get the thing shined up and make it more desirable. All right, again, I just want to caution everybody, as I always do, nothing is specific advice for anybody other than get information, understand. But this is a good example. I think it's a really good example to show where a company, for a low-cost investment of sending some landmen out to try to acquire low compensation, company-friendly leases, there are people who will sign anything. There are, unfortunately, people who will sign anything. So you go out, you get everyone that you can that can sign. Markets improve, and there's the potential that offers will get better in the future. Again, we got to look at it. You got to understand it. You got to decide if you want to wait, but you need to understand all these points and make an informed decision. Make an informed decision and understand that if prices go up, and you're taking a gamble. You're weighing your options, and you're undertaking an evaluation, and you're making what you think to be the best decision. But if prices go up, your compensation if you're a 100-acre landowner, but more or less, it's going to significantly increase. So you have to understand these things and decide, is this the time for you? But also understand, why are you being presented with these offers? I'll leave you with this. 10 years, 10-year term. That is a very long time for a company to decide whether they're going to drill or to drill. Then 12.5 royalty percentage. Lowest percentage allowed in the state Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Then full deductions for the lifetime of the lease. Think 50 years, 75 years, and who knows, maybe longer. That's what you're signing up for at the time when the market is the lowest it's been in around a decade. So think about those things. Not telling you not to sign, telling you to think about it, get specific advice, be informed. I'm up against it. You've been listening to All Things Marcellus with me, Attorney Doug Clark of the Clark Law Firm. Two things. One, remember, the landman works for the company, not you, the landowner. Number two, have a great day and a great week.